it's been a minute since we have been here. It's been a minute since we've been on the charts, but I'm back now. But I am back now. I thought it would be a pretty decent idea to do like a top-down analysis, right? Where I just start on the daily and then move on down to the M15. Just a behind the scenes on the thought process, right? On the thought process and how I look at the different markets, right? But I've already done like the top-down analysis for all my other pairs, right? I just left Euro USD blank, so just do it like in real time, I guess. Ouch. Okay, so from judging from this, like you try to find like what is the trend now. Already I can just within the blink of an eye I can see it's bullish, right? But how would I go back as like an inexperienced trader, right? I'll start looking, let's say this is a little bit far back, right? May 2022. This is May 2022, right? I'd start here, I can see, okay, clearly this is a downtrend, right? This is clearly a downtrend, and so okay, I'll say this was the previous high, right? It gets broken here, it goes up, it goes up, it goes up, pulls back, comes down, gets broken there, pulls down, gets broken there, comes down, gets broken there, right? So now you're playing within these, these two over here. You play within these two over here, it breaks low, right? When it breaks low, you would then be playing between these two zones here, then it breaks higher, and that's basically your swing range as of today on the daily, right? That's where your swing range would be, and that would mean that Euro USD is bullish high. But as you can see it, man, it's not even like really broski. Really, the fan comes on now. When I start recording, it comes on. Honestly, very annoying. But I think audio quality won't be good for a long time to come. So just bear with me, to be honest. Right, but this is our swing range right here. We have a daily swing low, right? Daily swing low, daily break of structure there, and then I would come in and anchor a test like that with daily equals bullish, right? Just a little reminder on the side here. Sometimes you just take a quick glance at it, and then I don't know what the 4 is at the current moment and what the M15 minute is. So you just take a quick glance at this and you just remind yourself, even when you're on the lower time frames, the daily is bullish or the 4 hour is bullish, and you don't have to like physically go and check, let's say the daily for example, that it's bullish, right? Because you would have made a note right there. Okay, and then now we start to zoom in. We'd realize, okay, we had this, it came up, and then we would have the chili character there, boom boom boom, moves down, mitigates this reaction, right? The market came in here, it reacted down, this is a valid POI, and as you can see, it already had a mitigation and a reaction. But in terms of expectations, right, you would have expectations of after it tags in what happens. Okay, so you probably see a pullback, right? See a pullback into these zones, but also in the back of your mind you would think, okay, we had a daily break of structure, so we have to have a pullback, right, into deeper into this swing leg over here, right? So you want to see more demand get taken, right? Like demand failing, failing, and that maybe in these lower regions it starts to hold, so we can have another bull run, right? But as you would know, with the market, anything is possible, and it could have just come in right there and then just boom, it's gone. More especially now that you have a change of character right there, right? Change of character is the first sign of a change of trend, right? It's like the first sign. It really has not a major play, I would say, but it is a sign nonetheless. One of the first signs. So cool. We hit this daily, and then these zones here, I wouldn't say they're particularly strong because what did they achieve? All they did was just have a change of character here, like this mini pullback. So these zones failing is not a surprise, right? Same as I would say with this zone in here. Same as I would say with this zone in here. This zone failing wouldn't be a surprise because what did it achieve? Just a slight change of character, and that's all. Same with down here, but the probability of it holding the lower you go is higher likely, right? Because it is coming from this daily zone which held. So you could see, let's say this internal bar here hold instead of this one. Maybe get a sweep of that and this one holding, or the sweep of both of these, because remember an internal bar is like a movement up and down within here, same as it would be with this one, but you could have it sweep both of these and then just hold on to this one a little bit deeper, right? So say maybe in terms of expectations for the daily, maybe we see it coming to here, right? So we'd look to the 4 hour for a little bit of a better idea of what's happening, right? In the short term, because remember we're not really like long term traders, that we are more scalpers or intraday, not scalping, but scalping is like micro moves. So in terms of intraday, you're trying to catch the move of the day, right? You don't have to really worry about the daily. For example, it's quite large, takes time to form and all that, right? So the 4 hour a little bit better. You have plenty of candlesticks in a day, which is like what, 6, if I'm not mistaken. 6 times 4 is 24, I think. I hope. I might be wrong. Am I wrong? Fuck, I'm not wrong. Am I? 6, 12, 18, 24. It's 4. What? 4, 8, 12, 16, 22. I was fucking right the whole time. Jesus. So yes, 6 candlesticks in a day, right? For the 4 hour, decent. Not a lot, but decent, right? We still look to the 4 hour as the bigger trend, right? Which we would like to be following most of the time. Even though, like, in terms of execution, the M15 would take a little bit more precedence, but not over the 4 hour. Like, you would still think in terms of what is the 4 hour doing in this current moment, even though the execution you would use the M15 minute trend, right, or the internal of the M15. But without complicating things way too much, 4 hours same as the daily. I'd probably zoom out a little bit, right, and just see what's happening. Like, like from here you can see it was a bearish trend, and then the bullish trend started to kick in, right? So I can come here immediately. Okay, this is decent, this would have been a bust, this is decent, this would have been a bust. And then the real question is this one here. Would you say this was a decent pullback, even though it's within like one large candle? I'd still say it's a decent pullback, right? Because look at the amount of candles in here, right? This is over what? How many days? Let's see. Friday, Monday, Tuesday, right? So you can say this is decent. This is decent, like in terms of a pullback, right? So you would be within this range over here. You'd have a pass there, 4-hour pass, and then you would have the swing high on the 4-hour here. One thing I noticed about structure, like we could have like differences in the way we view it, right? Like as individuals, what's important is the process you take to view the structure, right? It should the process that I've taken here is the same process I use for every other pair, right? The same process I use for this. Okay, even though this is internal structure or whatever, my swing structure is this much bigger one. There's a process I follow, right, to determine what is swing structure, what is internal structure, without like getting too confusing. The thing is it repeatable, right? That's what's important in terms of how you look at your market structure. You need to look at it in a repeatable way that you can repeat through all your pairs day in, day out. And so if it's repeatable, it's testable. And if it's testable, the results will tell you if it's working or not. Do you have an edge or not? So the most important thing is repeatable processes, right? So we'd have a boss there. We don't need this one. This is not a boss. This is the 4-hour swing high right there. I'd say this is enough of a pullback for it to have been a 4-hour swing low here. And then now the here's where like the internal structure coming. Like we are within the bigger 4-hour, right, which is bearish, we are within the bigger 4-hour, which is bearish. Okay, the M15 is still undetermined, but just looking at this internal structure of the 4-hour, I can already tell the M15 will be bullish, right? This is just where XP counts, and getting that XP up literally counts for stuff like that. You'll see in a moment. Right, now the 4-hour, we look at the swing. So the swing is bearish, right? And then you have a pullback. Now remember, how many days is this? This is from the 12th of May to 28th, literally over half a month, right? Now you would want to follow the internal structure, because this is happening over many days, unless you're like a swing trader where you are looking at these 4-hour moves, right? Then for me as an intraday trader, it's best if I like look at the more immediate price action, which is where internal structure would come in, right? So I can see the internal of this is bullish, even though the swing is bearish, the internal is bullish, right? So this would have been my previous internal breakup structure right there, internal breakup structure, and this would be your 4-hour internal low right there, and the internal high, right? And so in terms of how does the internal tie in or help you, right? Expectations, right? We said on the daily we had this mitigation right here. We had the mitigation right there, and so you can expect the market to keep pushing higher, right? Or it could start selling off. Now, the 4 hour helps us narrow down our perspective, right? Now we can see, okay, the 4 hour is bearish, which means if you think about it in terms of the 4 hour, the 4 hour should follow like coming here and then make another swing low, right? Because it's switched bearish. So that would be your expectations. Now, you, in terms of intraday, you cannot just come in and say, okay, I'll start selling the 4 hour, right? And it should sell. No. What is the process saying? Once the internal switches bearish, it is now the first sign that, okay, the swing is now starting to hold, even though we have like these supply zones fading here. And is there a sweep here? I don't think so. There isn't a sweep here. This whatever is in here held, right? And it makes a reaction. So now the question is, will the reaction close below this internal low, which now starts to signal that, okay, the 4 hour pullback may be ending and the next swing run may be going, which in turn means this daily zone has done its job. It gave a reaction, and now it's time to continue selling, right? That's how the internal would help in terms of looking at the larger 4 hour swing. And as you would notice, like it's literally the same thing, repeatable. You're just going lower and lower on time frames until you get to a point where you now start to determine your entries, right? So you would have had a chunk right there. A chunk is the internal of the internal of the internal starting to show signs of bearishness, right? First you get a chalk, right, and then you get an IBOS, and then you get a swing breaking structure in terms of what's more important. First is this one. This is the first sign. It's like the early signs. It's not concrete. The internal break is also an early sign, but it is better in terms of strength compared to a chalk. And then the swing break, like right here, is the most concrete sign that this is indeed bearish, right? And then going down to the M50, I had said bullish, right? But immediately coming in, I can see that it was bullish at some point, right? Okay, we had a low here. This would have been a low. Boom, break of structure there, moves up, moves back, break of structure there, and then you have this right here. Oh, actually, this is internal, because if I would have this as my high, you can have this, you can have this, it's the same thing really. Alright, I would have had a 15-minute break of structure there, which means the M50 low would be right there, and 15-minute swing low, and this would be the swing high. This would be the swing high over here. This would be the swing high. So this is not an actual break, right? This was a sweep of liquidity. The actual break is right there, which means this trend over here is literally the internal trend. So you would have the internal in there, 15-minute IBOS. Ooh, and it looks juicy as well, man. Juicy. Looks very juicy. Great PA. And so you would have the M50 internal high right there. And is this enough? Maybe not enough for like an internal move, but could be like internal of the internal, which is, without complicating it too much, like This is all right. Okay, let's move this and not complicating. And so, okay, let's go back to the daily and then just talk about it going down. Okay, daily, we have the daily coming into this zone, right? The flip, the daily comes into the flip right there. Expectation is for a deeper pullback, right? That's the expectation. But it could also hold from here and continue higher. Now we go to the 4 hour for a better idea for intraday, right? And on the 4 hour we had a break of structure. Now a break of structure could happen to facilitate the daily pullback, right? Or in this case it could hold and continue lower. So now what we wait for, we wait for the internal low to go, and then that could help determine if this swing low will go, because the swing low would have failed to do its job, which is to create a new high, right? And then we go further down, which is the M15, to get a better idea of what to do on like the day, like today for or tomorrow, for example. And so on the M15, you would have had it being bullish, right? Bullish to facilitate the 4 hour pullback. And if this M15 now switches bearish, you can start to determine that, okay, this swing low of the 4 hour may go, right? So basically it's just the same repeatable process where you look for the trend, right? For the trend, and then the smaller trends in here just help with determining when the bigger trend will continue, right? The bigger trend continues, and then smaller trend, the bigger trend continues. That's basically what is happening. Go from daily to 4 hour to M15. And yeah, that's pretty much the top down analysis. We'll take it from there. We'll see tomorrow what opportunities are there within the market, and then we just take it from there. And yeah, peace.